Hi everyone, I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy, and I'd like to welcome you to our live stream on how to find work as a licensed private investigator in Australia. Before we launch into it, I'd like to remind you of our three pillars of our live streams. They are professional conduct, professional development, and professional investigations. Joining me in our live stream studios today, we have licensed private investigators Andrew from Victoria and Alex from Queensland. And we'll start off with Andrew. Andrew, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, please, mate?
Yeah, g'day, Mike. I'm obviously a licensed private investigator in Victoria. Prior to that, I was working as a nurse, and I've found that I've been able to use my experience as a nurse to undertake psychological claims for work cover here in Victoria. I've also been undertaking common law jobs, particulars of negligence being a very important aspect of that, assisting employers to defend themselves for those claims. I've also undertaken some internal investigations and stuff in recent times, and looking forward to assisting others within the industry who wish to better themselves moving forward.
How long have you been licensed private investigator, Andrew?
5 years. What?
Wow, that's gone quick.
It has gone very quick. I sometimes wake up wondering what I'm going to do today, but when I'm doing investigations, no two investigations are ever the same, so it always means that I'm doing something different every day.
Good on you. Thanks, Andrew. That's a great introduction. Alex, tell us all about yourself.
Well, I'm a licensed private investigator in 2 states, nearly 3. I started in 2006. Prior to being a licensed PI, I was 17 years old, so it doesn't really matter what I was doing. I was in high school. As soon as I could, I got my license and got into it. Again, around 2006, started working with a couple of companies, and I've been doing it ever since.
Fantastic. Have you ever had 2 days the same?
Never.
What do you enjoy about your work?
I enjoy technology. Like I have done the job for this long, but I haven't enjoyed the job until the most recent 5 years sort of thing, until Facebook started to come around, until cameras started to get really good. Things like drones are popping up now. The way that I used to investigate wanted to lean more towards that. When Google Earth came out, I was using Google Earth to find stolen property in people's backyards. When Street View came out, I was figuring out where I was going to park. Before then, you just rocked up with a notepad and a analog camera with tape in it, and you sat there and you hoped that someone was going to show up. But now I know how they have their coffee before I even get there, and I find that to be a lot more interesting.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Alex. All right, the purpose of our program today is to get some hot tips from people who had to make it from scratch as licensed private investigators and get work as a subcontractor and build their experience and capacity. So, Andrew, can you give us some of your tips for breaking into the investigation industry and getting paid work as a licensed private investigator in Australia?
Well, the first thing, Mike, is you need to have your resume ready to go, and you need to have copies of your licenses and stuff to prove that you're actually licensed in Victoria or anywhere else for that matter. You need to be ready to go out with somebody, even if that's at your own expense, and show that you really want it. I've had a couple of people knock me back initially. I had to keep pushing. When I kept pushing, I suppose they would say no this week. Well, 2 weeks later, I go back to the same person and kept persisting. And don't take no for an answer. If they say no this week, doesn't mean they're not going to say no next week. They've got so many jobs they've got to get done, and if they don't get those jobs done or have somebody do the job, they're going to come looking for you in a desperate time to get the jobs done. And that might mean that they might only give you 4 or 5 days to get the job done, but if you're able to do the job and do it to a quality standard, they're going to remember you and use you next time.
Would you agree, Andrew, that in many cases the employers need you more than you need them? Definitely
need you more than you need them. I've found now, after being in the industry for 5 years, that I've got companies coming to me all the time, and I've got 2 or 3 companies at the present time that I've had to turn away because I'm just too busy with everything else to put on. at the present time, I'm pretty much working 7 days a week. I've been very lucky within this industry that I've had very good mentors such as yourself and people like Jim Higgins from CHS that have been very, very good to me and been really willing to take me on and show me how to do investigations and give me feedback and better me in my development.
But from that support came the fact that you were determined and you showed that you wanted to learn more, and that's why you got that support, because you sought it, didn't you?
I certainly did. I really fought after it. I suppose the other thing I really would suggest that people do is consider joining an industry association, not only just for the networking stuff. I've found that every company I work for at the present time as a subcontractor has been somebody I've met via my associations with people that have been in the actual industry associations. And the people that I worked with initially are not necessarily the people I'm working with now, but these further recommendations and I suppose associations that I've had with people through the industry associations, such as the AISP.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Andrew. And you're teaching for the Australian Security Academy next week in Melbourne. What are you going to be talking about for our students down there?
I'll probably be more talking to them about, the psychological claims and things like that, and what to look out for in terms of interviewing techniques and things like that. Trying to show them how to go about setting that up and then approaching the claimant and also the employer to obtain statements. Also be talking about, the quality of people's statements, really setting them up for the writing of the report moving forward. The quality of your statements is everything.
That's great, Andrew. It's really basic stuff, but it's the important stuff. And that's what the employers want. They want the basics done well. They don't really want the flashy stuff. They want the basics done well and to the proper standard. So thanks for that, and thanks for joining us today, Andrew.
No worries. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Alex, what are your hot tips for breaking into the investigation industry as a licensed private investigator who's just starting out?
Something that get asked in the forums all the time: how do I get my foot in the door? How do I get my foot in the door? A lot of people will say, well, email this guy, or send this person a letter, or go see this person. Networking is the most important thing, in my opinion, to getting work. You just want to know as many names, as many people as you can, be friendly with them. You want to do, a lot of people say, well, you should just use social media, or you should just show up to the company face to face, or you should just send out emails. I do everything. I do the social media, I do the business networking meetings, I do the handshakes, I send emails, I write letters, I make phone calls. I do that every day. And if someone comes to me and says, Alex, look, I'm not getting any work, I said, well, how many emails a day you send? Maybe one a week. And I'm like, well, that's not enough. How many hands are you shaking? How many people are you adding on Facebook? How many, everything. So I do networking so hard that when I get work, it feels like a day off. I believe that networking really is the job. And we all know people who get a ton of work, but they suck. And you just got to ask yourself, how's this possible? What's going on? It's the networking. So if you can be really good at your job and really good at networking, you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else, in my opinion.
So you're a member of an industry association. You're in Queensland. Where's that industry association?
Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, we have pretty much, I think, quarterly meetings out in Springwood at the Lions Club.
Yeah.
And we
you're a member of the AISP in Victoria too, aren't you? And you travel down for that.
Yeah, that's correct. I've lost count how many memberships, to be honest with you. But that again just comes back to how hard I'm trying to network and meet people and shake hands and send emails and make phone calls. But yeah, they're really useful. I think out of everything that I've mentioned, the most powerful thing you can do is walk up to someone face to face, have a chat and shake their hand, because it's really easy to ignore an email. It's really easy to swipe and say no to a phone call, but it's really hard to ignore someone's handshake.
That's great. And as a result of going down to Melbourne and attending those meetings, you're about to fly some 2,200 kilometres to another state and do a job, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got to get licensed in the Northern Territory, which is going to be interesting. Haven't been there before, so I'm already packing singlets and shorts.
Can you remember how much it costs to become a licensed PI in the Northern Territory now?
Funny, it's about $180 for 5 years. So And when you email them, they get straight back to you. It's not like Victoria or New South Wales or Queensland. They're not very easy. And that's why they need investigators out there.
That's pretty good. Look, guys, thank you very much for your tips today. People will be able to replay this and watch it again later and get those tips. And we will have it up on YouTube for our Australian Security Academy students with a little bit of extra information. But I really appreciate you giving up your time, and thanks for joining me.
No worries.
Okay, people, stay with me because I've got a very important announcement. We've had an investigation agency come to us yesterday and ask us if we could advertise a vacancy for them. So here's their vacancy. They want multiple factual investigators for workers' compensation and general insurance in Victoria and New South Wales. Now, this is Sure Fact Australia. Their number is on the screen. So basically, email them, include your resume, include a copy of your license, a digital photo of that, and a cover letter saying, look, I saw you on the Australian Security Academy's live stream at Sure Fact. So, let them know that you saw that ad there, apply for it. Now, you might not have hours and hours of experience as a factual investigator. We all started somewhere, and Sure Fact, they will appreciate if you've been trained, if you're licensed, you understand general insurance and workers' compensation, that they will possibly give you a start if you present well in writing with your application. So there is the number to contact. It's on the screen, and admin@surefact.com.au is the people to send your resume to. So that's it for our live stream today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got something out of it, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday when we do our third live stream here at the Australian Security Academy. Hi, Australian Security Academy students. You just watched the live stream of our tips to break into investigation work, and we held some information back because we want this only to go to our students so they're more successful in what they do. Alex gave us one tip about networking. Alex, can you please go through your other tips for us?
Yeah, networking certainly is very important. The second tip that I would have would be diversify. The reason is, if you go out and tell 1,000 people that you're a private investigator, they're going to go, wow. They're going to think, I didn't even know that existed. That's crazy. Then you're going to have a lot of other private investigators telling you, when you get into this job, you've got to find yourself a niche. Well, you're already in a niche, so you're trying to find a niche within a niche, and you're really limiting yourself as to what you're going to be able to do. Say, no, I only do infidelities, or I only do personal injury claims, or I only do psychologicals. I think that's silly, because at the end of the day, you're pointing a camera, and the only difference is what you're pointing a camera at. Is the knee injuries that someone doing something they shouldn't be doing. So it's all just pointing a camera. The only difference becomes what's relevant. I would definitely think about diversifying as far as what you're going to be pointing that camera at, as well as you'd be surprised about the amount of things that you can do under the license for a private investigator. Just personally, I do surveillance, I do desktop investigations, emergency management. Now, I don't go and pretend to be an ambulance when I say emergency management, but if you've got, say, Chinese billionaire, because I do have an emergency, might be a little sunny to study hard enough, you might have to go and manage that. I also do test purchases, loss prevention, and when I say loss prevention, I don't stand around like a security guard, but they do find out some high-profile people that are, stealing some things, and they want information on that person. That's fine. I do drone operations, background checks, just so many different things, and it just comes back to that diversity and, making sure that you're not trying to be a niche within a niche.
You also teach investigations, Alex.
Yeah, I do. I teach at the Australian Security Academy every chance I get.
Okay. And basically, just run us through, you became a licensed private investigator, did investigation work, you got your certificate for in training assessment, and went on to training. Some of the organisations that you trained on behalf of the Australian Security Academy, just to let people know that there are other opportunities, not just niches.
Yeah, I work for 33 different companies, and that sounds crazy. But in the grand scheme of things, there's also millions and millions of Australians who need and can board of Carbon Investigator as well. So I do try to work for as many companies as I can, be friendly with as many other companies as I can, and as many people as I can. I know as many lawyers as I can. Again, that comes back to network. But also,
so with your team, you talk for the RSPCA, you talk for the Office of Fair Trading.
Oh yeah. Various city councils when they're learning about investigations. The fire department on one occasion, we had some students come over from Korea and want to learn investigations from us. So
that's a very diverse portfolio of additions to what you do. Okay, and any other tips for our beginners out there, please, Adam?
Yeah, one more tip, and that's just be likable. If you are on Facebook burning bridges and getting mad at people, and if you're just not likable. When I need someone to help me on a job, which is quite often, let's say I've got a list of like 10 people that I really like to use, being that they're all equally skilled, I'm probably just going to go with the one that I want to spend the next 12 to 16 hours with. Because that's the reality of it. You're going to be dealing with people. Sometimes they're going to be sitting in the passenger seat of your car. Sometimes you're going to be on the phone to them all day. I want the guy or girl that's easiest to talk to and easiest to get along with. And I always think of it like this. If you get on your phone right now and you call 10 friends and none of them pick up, you need to work on that. And that's going to, be a really important thing. When people are going through that list of people that they want to use or not use, skills aside, it's going to be the likable person who gets the job. So don't burn bridges, don't get on Facebook and talk a bunch of trash, and try to just get along and try, again, just to maintain good relationships with people.
One of the things I've heard you say to our students in classes, Alex, is probably one of the most prophetic moments I've seen over 19 years of teaching investigations. You tell our students that if you're not very good at networking yourself, what should you do?
Yeah, this is something that I picked up a little while ago because I was terrible at networking. I wasn't sending the emails, making the phone calls, doing the handshakes. I was sitting at home on my hands and just sort of hoping that work would come to me, and obviously that didn't happen. All I really did to change my fortunes is just make friends with one person who was very good at networking. Okay, and if you can get in with one person who is good at networking, then your network expands to what their network is.
That's great. So you find someone that's good at networking, you go to the meetings with them, they're not afraid to walk up to a stranger, shake their hand and say good day. Right? I mean, it's very hard for some people to come out of their shell even later on in life, let alone as an awkward teenager, that sort of thing. So that's really great advice. Find someone who is good at networking, take them with you and share the experience with them. That's really excellent advice. So within all of that, Alex, I'd like to thank you for adding those 2 extra ones. I really appreciate you giving up your time. I know you're really busy as a networking. But you did mention, you do profit protection investigations. What industry is that in? Is that retail or construction?
I work for some major retail companies. There's a difference between brand protection and loss prevention, and I sort of do both a little bit. Brand protection would be something more along the lines of Nike don't want you ripping off their tick symbol, whereas loss prevention is you might work for a major retail store and they've got a guy who's coming in every week stealing a whole bunch of stuff, and they're over it and the police aren't doing enough, so they get someone like me to go film them doing it, follow them home, find out where they live, find out where they're on selling those items to, and try to hand that report off to the police, and the police will then do something about it because they then have the evidence. So although it's called loss prevention, it doesn't mean I'm putting on a security guard outfit and going around busting kids for stealing things at the shop.
So basically that's outside of the retail premises and they might be selling it on Gumtree or something like that later on. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, that would fall into a desktop investigation version of that. So sometimes I don't even leave my computer and I'll sit there and just build a profile on this person and find out everything I can, and then that can be handed off to the police. Or sometimes I'll physically be there and actually watch them. And the people who work in the retail store, they might get instructed, look, just leave this guy alone. We've got this other guy who's going to follow him home to make a report on this properly. It just depends on how bad the situation is. And they do get bad. You get people who walk into say Coles load up a trolley full of everything and walk out every single week, you know, and sell that on. So it's very diverse what I do. And again, you'd be surprised what you end up with as a private investigator. You never know where you're going to end up, what you're going to be doing.
And all of that has come from you actively networking to get that.
100%. It's come from my ability to network, my ability to diversify, and hopefully my ability to be likable as well. I'm sure I wouldn't be getting any work if everyone didn't like me.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for the final tips. I really appreciate that, mate. Good luck with the future in your work.
No problem at all. Thank you.